Good morning, Cassandra.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rena.
How are you guys?
Doing okay. Thank you.
Good.
I miss the milling around that comes with in-person meetings. People get there minutes early.
Louis, are you in your office or are you at home?
In my office. Kathy Hogan and I have been in office for a good part of this period. And Carrie joins us today. So we have a skeleton crew.
Yeah. And do you drive or do you take public transportation?
I drive.
Okay.
Which is really, calm, inspiring, I guess, in current times.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, the summer's not really a good gauge of traffic patterns
Right.
in a normal time, but it's going to be interesting to see how the traffic works.
I've noticed, it's just day by day a slight uptick in traffic on Starro and the Pike, and so as a gauge of economic activity, it's picking up, but it's still really great compared to the usual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good morning, Gary. Oh, he's just now connecting. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning. How are you, Louis?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
There he is.
Hi, Rena.
Hello, Gary.
You'll see the construction has started behind me.
Ah,
Very exciting.
Oh.
what is that going to be, Gary? Do you know?
Well, It was to be commercial space, additional commercial space. It's actually on top of the garage here at the DOI. So they've built on the garage. I assume they'd like to still use it for commercial space, whether that's feasible or not. And yeah.
So we are getting the whole crew joining. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning. Faye Ruth. And Lou. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning, Lou.
Morning, Louis.
An echo.
There you are, Lou.
I believe we'll have Lauren Peters standing in for the secretary this morning. So we'll just wait until Lauren arrives and do a quorum check. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everybody.
Michael, no more beard?
Sorry, I never know if I'm muted or not. Yes, I'm still protesting COVID. I just am doing it more comfortably.
You just wait for next Movember, Michael. That's what you have to do. Wait till Movember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He transferred it over to the GIC.
I don't actually know, for those bearded amongst us, how you do it. But maybe you're just better at keeping it groomed. I was just really bad. Anyway, it is good to see everybody as we struggle through all of this.
Likewise, it really is. And it's, I don't know, this is supportive in a lot of ways.
Nancy, your picture changed.
Good morning, Lauren. How are you?
Good
Yes,
morning.
it did.
I'm well. How are you all?
Good. I think we have quorum, though, though we don't yet have Dimitri, and who else are we missing? Faye Ruth, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. I apologize.
okay.
I
There
can't
we
be on camera because I'll be traveling to the southeastern part of the state today.
Understood. Hi, Faye Ruth. Okay, Lauren, I think we have quorum. Dimitri, I hope, may join us as we go, but would you like to get us launched?
Sure. So we'll call the meeting to order. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the May 14th meeting. So just first pause and see if there's any edits or feedback on the minutes. Nope, hearing none. All right, do we have a motion?
Motion.
So moved. Seconded. Whatever people haven't done.
All right, and now we have to do this by roll call because we are virtual. So I'll go down the list. So Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Faye Ruth,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Cassandra,
Yes.
Lou, Lou,
He's
you
on
might be
mute.
on mute.
Just wave your hand, Lou, if you agree.
Exactly.
All right,
In all my Zooming, that is the most common thing that happens.
yep. Matt,
I can weigh in now.
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
thank you both. Dimitri? Or do we don't have Dimitri, do we?
Not yet.
All right. Nancy
Yes.
and Rena
Yes.
and Lauren, yes. All right, the motion carries.
Cassandra from A&F. Did we get Cassandra's yes?
Yes.
I thought so.
I apologize.
Great, nope, no worries. All right, the motion carries. So the next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report. So Louis, can I turn it over to you?
Sure. Thank you and good morning. And thank each of you for your continued work guiding affordable in the midst of a pandemic. We have two contract items up for a vote today, but the first and primary agenda item is our final board briefing prior to the scheduled go live of our new premium billing and call center systems and services. With the possible exception of the HICS of 2014, this is by far the largest systems and services change out at the connector since its inception. And we want to make sure that we address questions that the board may have as we lead up to go live. Before I address the agenda, I have three brief points relating to connector activity in the context of COVID-19. Number one, we continue to have open a special enrollment period for those impacted by COVID-19. That period lasts for another 2 weeks until June 23rd. We will continue to review the actions of other states, the federal government, and work in concert with Mass Health as we examine whether further extensions are needed. Secondly, more than 13,000 people have entered Health Connector coverage through the COVID special enrollment period. Another 18,000 have used other regular special enrollment periods to gain coverage. And third, on the small group side, our enrollment remains steady at 8,498. While growth has slowed considerably since the pandemic started, we think it's awfully good news that enrollment has stayed as strong as it has, given that small businesses face a very difficult period in which to operate. Regarding today's primary agenda item, we are about 3 weeks away from moving into our transition phase and rolling new premium billing and call center services and systems on July 6th. Vicki, Michael, and Carrie will further detail this. We started the project more than a year ago, and while the calendar says we have 3 weeks to transition, we have a lot of diligent work ahead of us. Throughout the entire organization, the customer service project has been an overriding priority. We are working with Softheon, the premium billing vendor, to identify and resolve remaining open issues in enrollment and premium billing prior to go live. Doing so will require further hard work and focus, but the team has a record of delivering on commitments. On the call center side, Faneuil has completed its hiring and training is ongoing with the expectation of first call receipt on July 6th. Last month, we transitioned to the new mailroom operations. This is a first outward step forward with many more to come in the next few weeks, and that transition was successful. Member communications have started with some general detail about what to expect after July 6th. There's a full calendar in today's presentation that, along with website and social media updates, highlights upcoming outreach to members, which include details on member-facing updates and detailed closures around the holiday weekend leading to go live. In our first email communication, we asked recipients if they were looking forward to the changes described in the email. 82% of 1,357 respondents said yes, which is a nice thing to hear as we get ready to make our customers' interactions with us easier. This Sunday will mark the 100th day since we were all in the office on March 13th. And despite the disruption to work routines and personal lives, we have continued to move forward to this important moment. And I am cognizant and thankful to the team for this effort. I look forward to providing a post-go live update at our next meeting in July, the week following go live. On today's agenda, we are asking for your approval of 2 staffing-related contracts as we continue our daily operations at the Health Connector, extending current actuarial services and creating a new relationship for our data architect services. And finally, we have joined with other state-based marketplaces across the country and the National Academy for State Health Policy on 2 letters to the federal government concerning COVID-19. One to leadership in the US House and Senate asks for 3 main areas of policy updates to support families during this crisis: a federally funded reinsurance program, enhanced affordability supports for individuals and families, and flexibility on tax liability for subsidy recipients on exchange, and streamlined eligibility policies. The last item speaks directly to creating maximum relief for those receiving advanced premium tax credits, which includes all of our Connector Care members. We signed an additional letter to the US Treasury seeking that relief for residents who may be receiving federal unemployment and other income streams that may impact their tax year 2020 APTC reconciliation, as we hope that they can be held harmless during this difficult period. Unless there are questions of me, I'll turn over to Michael and Vicky and Carrie for the CXP update, but I'll pause for a moment to see if there are questions.
This is Nancy. I have one. Thank you for the update. Would you be able to circulate to the board the letters that you just referenced?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Good morning, everyone. This is Vicky. Michael is going to join me, as Louis said, and Carrie. Michael, can you share our slides, please? You should have received them from Aaron. Okay. All right. So if you could go to the agenda slide, Michael, please. So as Louis said, we're less than 30 days away from this go live on July 6th, and we've officially transitioned from 100% implementation to actually beginning to track tasks related to cutover and countdown activities. Today, we're going to take you through the mailroom. Michael's going to talk about cutover planning and readiness and enrollment and billing. Carrie will talk about financial integrity as part of our enrollment and billing project. And then we'll talk about contact center readiness with Faneuil. We want to make sure we give you full view to the risks that we're managing and tracking, since that's important that we update you there. And then last but not least, we'll talk about member communications that have commenced and also ones to come. So I just want to say before we move into mailroom, as with any project of this size and scope, we are closely tracking and managing a number of risks. And the other thing that we'll talk to you about are those risks, which is data conversion, final set of defects from Softheon that need to be resolved, and the last testing of the functionality for the interactive voice response. So I'll move into mailroom. Michael, could we move there? So the last time we met, we talked about that we would be going live on the 18th. I'm very pleased to say that we did go live successfully on the 18th. Thanks to our colleagues at both NTT and Mass Health for their coordination in making that happen. We now receive daily reports for the mailroom for things that are processed. We've processed over 1,000 documents already. We get daily, weekly, and we'll be receiving monthly reports. And at this point, we're considering this fully closed and transitioned to ongoing operations. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is we do have a process in place with our former vendor NTT that if anything comes to the old mailroom, they transition that and forward it on to the new mailroom so that nothing is lost with this transition. And then all our sister navigators and clearly the members have been informed of these changes. So this is checked off in standard operations now.
Vicky, can I just ask a question? It's Nancy. There's been a lot of disruption of the mail generally over the last 3 months. Have we experienced, related to COVID, not related to this project, have we been experiencing that or?
So we see less mail has come in. I think people aren't using mail as much, and we do have document upload, which went in last March, so people can upload the documents. But we have not seen a disruption, if you will. We have skeleton crews for both NTT and EDMC that go into the office on a regular basis to move the mail.
And so we haven't, for example, had an uptick in the members calling and saying they mailed something and we don't have any record of it arriving.
We have not.
Great.
We have not.
Good. Thank you.
Now, one thing, Nancy, that may affect that is RFI terminations are of course on hold for now. So that may be a reason we're not getting calls, but otherwise we haven't observed mail disruption.
Great to hear. Good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you for cutover and Softheon.
Great, thank you, Vicki. Good morning, everyone. As Lewis and Vicki mentioned, we are actively working towards a July 6th go live for both enrollment and premium billing and the contact center implementations. We've documented a detailed hour by hour and in some cases minute by minute cutover plan that's currently under review with all parties, including Softheon, Faneuil, Optum, NTT, and Health Connector staff. Our first dry run of the plan was held on June 5th, and we'll continue our review tomorrow. The purpose of the dry run review is to validate estimated task durations, coordination between parties, and issue tracking during the cutover period. In parallel, we continue with operational readiness activities to ensure policies, procedures, and training are in place. And additionally, we recently achieved a critical milestone where CMS formally approved both Softheon and Faneuil into our authorized footprint. The cutover plan consists of over 600 tasks beginning in early June and continuing into August as we closely monitor initial business events on the new systems. The illustration here highlights some of the key activities that are planned as part of the cutover. The top bar represents the full duration of the plan and includes activities like the full data conversion, the transfer of phone lines, and agent training. The bottom bar reflects cutover week activities and includes tasks such as the deactivation of the NTT payment portal, smoke testing, and the go live of both Softheon and Faneuil systems. And we are targeting our go live for the first call on the morning of July 6th. In terms of enrollment and premium billing, we continue to make progress on this implementation with Softheon. As a reminder, this also includes the member portal, notice generation, and notice fulfillment. Lockbox and treasury testing is complete. Load testing of the member portal and integrations with Optum are expected to conclude tomorrow. And as Lewis and Vicki both mentioned, we are still working to resolve some critical issues. As of last evening, we're carrying 27 open items that need resolution prior to go live. Primary themes around these issues include noticing, error messaging, and integration error handling. As a reminder, we have identified a few critical issues that are related to renewals that are not needed until open enrollment. So those issues will be resolved in conjunction with the next HICS release in late July. And any non-critical issue that's been identified and not yet resolved will be managed through our warranty period. The full enrollment and premium billing data conversion began in production on June 2nd and is expected to complete on June 16th. And as part of the cutover, we are also importing approximately 24 terabytes of historical notices into production, although that process may extend beyond go live. And then regarding conversion reconciliation, a team's been assembled to work through any identified discrepancies that come out of that conversion. And unless there are questions on anything I've gone through here, I can hand it to Carrie, who will talk more about that process.
Michael, are any of the critical issues ones that you all are not confident can be resolved before go live?
Right now, all of the issues have been we have target dates for, I think, all but 3 of the issues as of right now for resolution. And we have not received any signal yet from Softheon that they're unable to resolve those issues. So we do believe we should be able to clear those issues. And we are, as we work through the list each day, if we come up with an issue where we feel there's too much risk to try to resolve that issue prior to go live, we'll evaluate if there's a workaround that we can put in place to allow us to proceed. So as of right now, we think we should be able to clear that list so that we can go live for the 6th. Any other questions? Carrie, I'll hand it to you for financial integrity.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning, members of the Health Connector Board. The Health Connector's priority has always been accurately accounting for our members such that no one is ever left behind. It's also about financial integrity, operating like a bank, and ensuring that member payments are accurately credited and that carriers are accurately compensated for the coverage that they provide. So the purpose of slide 10 is to speak to what we have been doing already and what we will continue to do to ensure that the Health Connector minimizes risk during conversion and transition such that no member or other stakeholder is harmed. One thing that's already in place is that Health Connector IT and Finance use what we call health checks, and they act as kind of a guardrail on the current system. And what they do is they'll surface any accounts that appear to show a discrepancy between enrollment and billing data. We currently use 4 health checks to do this: enrollment, subsidies, liabilities, and credit balances. We will continue to monitor these results on a monthly basis and work with our colleagues and our vendor to remediate, if necessary, any discrepant accounts. And of course, we will continue to do this in the future with Softheon. Specific to the data conversion with Softheon, any accounts that are surfaced after the full and the incremental conversion that do appear to have discrepancies, they will be surfaced, investigated, researched, and explained. This cross-functional group that Michael referred to, it's comprised of finance, IT, operations, and we pull in other people as necessary. This cross-functional group will review and determine any sort of recommended remediation if it's necessary. And as part of that process, we will determine whether outreach to a member or a carrier is involved. And if so, that process will be planned and managed by the same group and others as necessary. And just lastly, as an enhancement to our current efforts, IT and Finance are also developing what we call a no member left behind dashboard to take it one step further and to compare data in the HICS and in the Softheon system to ensure that the data is accurately transferred between both systems. We don't want someone showing up in one system or another, and we need them to show up in both, and we need it to be accurate. So we have a draft of this dashboard. We're continuing to refine it over the next couple of weeks that we will be using prior to cutover and during the transition and as well as the operations phase. I will pause for a minute for questions, and if there are none, I will turn it back to Michael. Thank you.
Carrie, I have a question. Is the no member left behind approach, is that one that we've always had, or is that one that we can now put in place because of functionality of the new systems?
Just a little bit of history on that, if I could, because for better or worse, the phrase can be attributed to, to my artifice. When we went through the HICS conversion, I think in those days, there were such challenges, to put it euphemistically, with the conversion to the new HICS that I think people were naturally looking at percentages and saying, wow, we're down to X% records in error. And that was just not good enough. And so at that time, so this was around 2015, early 2016, we said, it's not about percentages, 1%, 2%, nothing that affects a member is okay. And so we coined this term that we wanted a no member left behind dashboard, so that down to every single member, we knew exactly what had happened in some of the open enrollment activities. And so we're carrying that phrase forward. We have a practice of this reporting during open enrollment since, I would say, 2017 open enrollment. And so this is an extension of that practice into this conversion activity.
Thanks. I don't recall having heard the phrase before, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions for Carrie or Michael? Okay, we're going to turn our attention now to contact center implementation. Next slide, please, Michael. So as you remember, our new contact center will be managed by Faneuil starting on July 6th. They are responsible for all the systems within a contact center, both our customer relationship management, workflow for agents, also our new interactive voice response system, which is the system that the members will interact with when calling. The IVR will have both English and Spanish prompts as we do today, as well as a new feature of being able to pay by phone. Today, you can only pay either online or through check. This way, you'll be able to enter your routing and account information, what amount you want to pay. So we think that will significantly help folks that today drop checks in the mail. Instead, they'll be able to pay through phone. So we're interested and excited for that to come. And as Louis referenced, that's one of the new features we polled members on, and they are also excited about it. So for staffing and recruitment, 184 customer service reps have been hired or are currently in their first week of training, which started on Monday. And by all accounts, that's going very well. In terms of facility, you know, we have 2 brick and mortar sites, which will not be occupied when we open, but some work was needed in order to get it ready for us. That was on hold due to COVID concerns. However, since then, the construction's been allowed. They've come in, they're set and ready to go. Our walk-in centers also remain closed due to COVID restrictions, and they have the potential to open no earlier than September 1st. And one of the things we're going to need to think about is whether we move to a reconfiguration of space, obviously, social distancing, but also do we move to potentially appointment only. In terms of the last thing with the walk-in centers is we have worked with Faneuil to secure the leases of the 2 current sites for both Worcester and Boston. So that would be one less change for members because of those sites have been around since we started. So the good news is both of those leases have been secured. Worcester is signed and the Boston lease is close to being signed. Michael, next page.
Can I ask a question? Oh, it was about the last meeting or the one before, we talked about the fact that Faneuil has employees in different parts of the country, and that different parts of the country have been handling COVID differently in terms of lockdowns and other things. Could you just update us on what the plan is for wherever their staff are about going back to the office, whose rules will govern, how you and they are thinking about that, please?
Yeah, so our rules govern, and we've communicated that to Faneuil that our staff for the 2 sites won't go back until there's a conversation with the connector. And at the moment, we are not planning to be in any of the brick and mortar sites. We're planning for 100% remote, Nancy.
And then in terms of returning, will be the governing body?
Correct.
The rules and the way in which that's done, and it, okay, great, thanks.
Absolutely. I've had that conversation with Anna Van Buren, who's the president of Faneuil. She understands, is in complete agreement. Okay. And this may answer some of your other questions. Is so when COVID started, Faneuil had to swivel all their current centers to 100% remote. You know, they were all brick and mortar. but they also knew that they needed to put together a proposal for us. So they retained Omni Consulting, which has a deep history of work at home programs, and they also hired 2 dedicated leaders, one who's been on our account primarily, that have work at home operational experience and have managed remote workforces, because it's very different to manage a remote workforce than an in-resident workforce where you can walk around and talk to people. So our account right now is 100% remote targeted. There are no plans to bring back into brick and mortar at the moment. If we ever do, we also have talked with Faneuil that we probably would retain a significant portion of folks with work from home, so we have flexibility back and forth. The hiring classes that I talked to you about that are in force right now are 100% remote. They changed their skill set assessment so that people were screened for previous work at home experience. They also, this is not a bring your own device approach. Faneuil has supplied to the agents in their homes the computers, the monitors, the desktops, the headsets, etc. Linda Hamill from our council worked with council at Faneuil to put in a remote worker privacy and security agreement that needed to be signed by each customer service agent that met our needs for remote work and privacy and security. And then the other thing is that Faneuil requires photos from the CSRs that are working from home that they show they can prove they have the appropriate space, privacy, etc., to maintain calls with members. All of the training, as I talked about, is being conducted remote, and they had to redo all their curriculum for remote. They had to change the size of the classes to trainers, and then they have regular follow-up and help sessions between the trainers and the customer service folks. So it was a complete pivot. However, we think that it's been successful so far, and that is going to be our model going forward. And just a small thing to add is we have hired the manager and the customer service folks that if or when we go back into the walk-in centers, they're already hired on staff and are being trained and will have a lot of practice working remote. So at least they know our protocols. And when we open again in the walk-in centers, it's not with de novo staff. They'll have been taking calls all along. So I want to stop and pause there because that's really the Faneuil update. We feel good about go live with Faneuil for July 6th. But any other questions on contact center, please? Okay. So then moving along, the next section is a very important update that we want to give the board. Michael, could I have the next slide, please? So each month we've been sharing with you the risks which a project of this size carries and needs to manage. And we wanted to make sure that of particular importance as we near go live, we share the new risks that we're managing. One of the big ones that we just talked about is EPB defects. Michael talked about that we're carefully working with Softheon to finish the defects that are left that we consider critical to go live. However, each and every time we're going to be evaluating whether we take the code update or whether we, as we get closer to go live on the 6th, we need to evaluate the feasibility of manual workarounds. The other thing that we're really cognizant of is that even if things were to go 100% smoothly with any big implementation, there certainly may be things that are not 100%. We have a plan to track them and work on them in the cutover, which Michael talked about. But we are cognizant that changes in just even the look and feel of the member portal, the notices and bills will have some updated verbiage and look and feel, is to minimize confusion or disruption for members. We'll be expanding our ombudsman support services with additional members who will, from the first day of go live and supplement with cross-functional folks, work on member escalations expeditiously. And we'll be holding also at least 2 times daily all vendor check-ins, and included in that is any feedback from members in order to make sure that everything's on track and moving as smoothly as we can. One other milestone that's still ahead of us is the transfer of the phone lines. Today they are owned by NTT through Verizon as the carrier. They need to get transitioned to Faneuil. This is a fairly routine process that telephone carriers do, but I put it on here to highlight that it is something that will need to happen over the next 2 weeks, and we'll be watching closely that it happens successfully. We already talked about the walk-in centers that we're doing remote, and then I would say that NTT has been very helpful and continues to support this transition in every way from their leadership on down. Any questions on risks? Okay. So last but not least, we wanted to share with you the communications planned with our members regarding this transition. Jean Bernard, who's our manager of communications, has been driving and leading this. And the focus of the messaging is really on the new features. We talked about phone payments. We have an enhanced member portal. The member portal will be in Spanish, which we don't have today. And then also making sure that the members are aware of things when the portal comes down, the fact the call center closes on the 3rd, and then when we come back up live. Let's see. Michael, the next one. So this is the survey that Louis referenced that was sent out. It was an email sent in May to all members. It talked about what was coming in July, but it also stressed that if you need help paying, that go on our website today. We have the SCP that's open. We have hardship waivers. So it was a combo, but this is so communications with members has already started and will continue all the way through August. The next slide. This is a mailer that will start going next week. This is the front of the mailer, and it talks about the new features coming on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, there's a set of dates reminding people when things will come down and when they come back up. And at the bottom of this slide, it talks about, again, our walk-in centers, and that opening is on July 6th. So it's our usual, lot of white space, simple messaging, but this is a mailer that will start going out next week. And the next page, Michael, this is the back side of the mailer, which again talks about new features are coming and what's happening while we make changes. Michael, next slide.
So Vicki, can I just ask a question about the timing? So I think I saw the online payments, that functionality will be down for about a week. From June 30th to July 6th, and then the customer service from July 3rd to July 6th. Is that correct? Or is it just on those days?
So the 6 o'clock on the 30th, the payment portal will come down. It will be back up actually on Sunday the 5th.
Okay.
Yep, so people have been messaged, but our payment date is the 23rd. So that's another reason actually why moving to July 4th was welcomed, because it's a holiday weekend, which traditionally is very low traffic, either foot, call, or all the rest. We also are always closed for the 4th of July holiday, which is actually the 3rd. So that's our natural holiday that we're closed for. So the call center will take calls through the 2nd. We would have been closed on the 3rd anyway. We're not open on weekends in non-open enrollment. So the 3 days the call center closed is traditional, and then we open and take our first call in the morning of the 6th. Okay, does that help, Lauren?
Yes, thank you.
Great, okay. So this calendar along the top shows the business events that Lauren was just asking about. You know, our bills get mailed on the 1st of every month. So the first bill in July will be mailed with an insert talking about the new lockbox, talking about changes again, and each bill subsequent after that will have inserts around the transition and changes. And as a reminder, we usually do this in open enrollment anyway, so we're just using a communication channel that our members are used to, but we're messaging around now the conversion and new features. The email has already been sent, which we talked about in the last week of May. The mailer starts on the 15th, and then other emails will start to go starting on the 20th with repetition. And then we have the inserts and other email reminders, which is down the bottom. And after we go live on the 6th, if we feel or hear that there is confusion or things that we need to update members on, we of course will pivot and add into this calendar whatever we need to address, and also add talking points for the CSRs. And that's typical of what we do today, but we'll be on high alert in the first few weeks after go live to make sure if there's things we need to communicate that were unanticipated questions from members, we're able to do that through the member portal, banners, inserts, emails, etc. So I would say from all of us, thank you for your continued support. We are 23 days away from go live. The team's working hard to finish all the tasks, including a careful eye on the risks outlined today. And we have a lot to do still between and July 6th, so we will be busy. Are there any questions?
Vicki, this is Nancy. So first of all, thank you to you and everyone. I mean, this would have been an enormous lift without COVID, and I actually can't imagine how much more complicated the pandemic has made this. Could you, just at least for my edification, if one of my students who was one of our members like happened to watch this board meeting and said, wow, you talked a lot about this, and like, what's going to be different for me? Like, what's the couple of sentence answer that you would give them?
So I think the biggest difference is going to be the member portal that comes on board. It's in Spanish as well as English, and now you can see all your historical notices, Nancy. You're able to ask questions or help in there that we haven't been able to do before. And then the other one is really auto pay, right? Right now we only have really 2 channels. And we've really worked, you know, we've always wanted that channel, but we didn't want to put it in when we were in the middle of conversion. But having that members have to mail checks, that means now that they can pay over the phone much closer to the deadline if they get jammed on the deadline. And then the rest is what we've talked about. It's really pulling like for like and doing it in a way that there's no disruption to coverage and no disruption to anyone's money. What Carrie said is, you know, work like a bank.
Yeah, I think it's very appropriate, you know, over the course of our conversations about the project that we've focused on the time frame and the schedule and the how are things going and the risks. But I think it's always good just to bring it back as a final thing for how will this really concretely improve the experience we're able to provide to the members. So that's very helpful for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And those are the start. We have a number of things, of course, that we want to continue to refine and add, but we had a very explicit discussion about scope is that we would wait till after go live and then continue to improve the member experience after go live because we wanted to make sure we got live.
I wonder if in July, when you send the information to the members about the new or you already have, I at least would be very interested to see how is the member experiencing this. So if there are a couple of emails or flyers or whatever we send out just to see how we're presenting this to the members, I think that would be great to understand more.
Yes, of course. Other questions?
Yeah, in the survey that Lewis referenced and that you discussed, I think 82% of respondents felt that these were positive changes. I'm guessing the rest probably either just didn't respond in a way that had any, they think their experience will stay the same, but were there any concerns raised in the respondents that were not looking forward to these changes or didn't think that they would have an impact on their experience?
Not that I know of, but let me go back to Jean and have her validate, and I will get back to you on that. We can send a follow-up. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. Okay. Well, you know where to find us if you have questions between now and July 6th. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Vicki, Michael, and team for really keeping this moving under the circumstances. So I know a lot of hard work went into this and getting us to where we are.
So, yeah, Lauren, at your discretion, we can proceed to the 2 contract votes. And I would just note that we'll be losing a couple of board members at 10 o'clock for other commitments that they have. So to my team, I just urge succinctness.
Sure, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the Healthcare Actuarial Services Contract. which is before the board today for a vote and will be presented by Carrie. So I'll turn it over to you, Carrie.
Hi, good morning. Can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
I take that as a yes. Okay, good morning, everybody. The purpose of this presentation is to seek approval from the board to extend a contract with VBEC for actuarial and financial analytics services through June 30th, 2021 for an amount not to exceed $343,292. As the board may be aware, we have contracted with VBEC since 2018. VBEC was established by our former chief actuary, Edith Calveo, when she relocated to Quebec. At that time, we entered into an engagement with her to remotely provide actuarial services until a local permanent resource could be employed. While we did engage in an extensive search, the candidates that we interviewed did not have the desired level of expertise or carrier experience deemed necessary to successfully perform the required duties of this position. In addition, we had CXP going on, and we thought that that necessitated stability. And so the recommendation was made to the board to extend the contract through fiscal year 20. Last July, prior to the board voting on the contract, there was an inquiry about our plan to bring actuarial services in-house, and we did indicate that we would reopen the search for an in-house actuary during fiscal year 20. However, planning for in-house services has not formally commenced, primarily due to some other matters and the current situation that we find ourselves in. We will, however, continue to work with the board on this matter, but I would like to state, just have the opportunity to say that we are extremely pleased working with Edith and her performance. If there are no questions on slide 2, I'll go to slide 3. So Health Connector staff do recommend extending the contract with VBEC through fiscal year 21 with a not to exceed amount of just over $343,000. Please note that actual costs do come in significantly less than the NTE, about 25 to 30% or so. And I will pause there if there are any questions. And hearing none, the last slide is the vote.
Right.
Shall I read, or Lauren, you read?
Sure. So the Health Connector staff recommends that the board of directors authorize the executive director to amend a contract with VBEC to extend through June 30th, 2021 for an amount not to exceed $343,292. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, let's go down through the roll call. Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Bayruth?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Cassandra?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Do we have Dimitri on? No. Nancy?
Yes.
Rena?
Yes.
And I, Lauren, will vote yes as well. All right, the motion carries. The contract is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, thank you. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, and the next item on the agenda is the staff augmentation contract, which is before the board today for a vote and will be presented by Michael. I'll hand it over to you.
Hi again, everyone. So this morning, we're seeking approval to enter into a work order with McInnis Consulting for a data architect. We work with a data architect today through a direct agreement with Takisma. That data architect supports several key components across the Health Connector, including data architecture, system development and analysis, data warehousing, and reporting. However, the agreement with Takisma is expiring at the end of June, and we would like to bring on the data architect through the state blanket of ITS 63. So ITS 63 is a staff augmentation contracts agreement through the Commonwealth. By relying on ITS 63, we receive the benefits of a vendor procured through a statewide process with all the strong contractual protections that come with a state contract. This saves us time in conducting a procurement for a staff augmentation vendor ourselves, and McInnis is an approved vendor that was procured through ITS 63. The cost of this contract for 1 year is not to exceed of $301,600. Are there any questions? No questions, move to the vote.
All right, thank you. So the Health Connector staff recommends that the Board of Directors authorize the Executive Director to enter into a work order with McInnis for staff augmentation of a data architect through June 30th, 2021, in an amount not to exceed $301,600. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's do this one more time. Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Faye Ruth,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Cassandra,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Dimitri is in absentia, Nancy,
Yes.
Rena,
Yeah.
and I will be voting yes as well. All right, the motion carries. The work order is approved.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So that was the final agenda item. I don't know if there's anything else that folks on the board want to raise, questions, issues. All right, this might be record time.
Running an
So
efficient meeting, Lauren. Well done.
So if hearing no other issues, we will move to adjourn. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. I believe we still have to go through a roll call. Is that correct?
Yes,
All
unfortunately.
right, we'll do this rapid fire. Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Faye Ruth,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Cassandra,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Dimitri is in absentia, Nancy,
Yes.
Rena,
Yes.
and I will vote yes to adjourn us. So the motion carries. And the meeting is adjourned. And I just want to again say thank you to Lewis and the whole Connector team for all the work that you've been carrying out over the last couple of months. So we are very appreciative and grateful for your leadership. And
you all.
with that, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and we will speak soon.
Stay healthy, everyone.
Bye all.
Thank you all.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Be well.